Tonight, leaders from Canada and the U.S. gather to talk policy in Saskatoon. This house was supposed to be demolished. Now it's a Saskatoon artistic hub.
Team Sask!
And athletes prepare to represent Saskatchewan in the Canada Summer Games.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, July 28th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Hundreds of politicians from the U.S. and Canada are meeting in Saskatoon this week. It's not for the latest round of trade negotiations, but as Jeremy Warren reports, a high-profile speaker at the event is weighing in on the Canada-U.S. trade dispute.
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper says the Mark Carney government asked him for advice on U.S. trade talks. Harper dropped the nugget during a keynote speech to the Midwest Legislative Conference in Saskatoon. The annual meeting brings together leaders from 4 provinces and 11 U.S. states. Harper repeated the advice he gave the Prime Minister's office. Canada is too reliant on the U.S. and needs to diversify its trading partners.
Canada must be seized with the necessity of making sure that we do not export only to you. That's really critical for us going forward. We just cannot be in a position in the future where we can be threatened in this way and not have that leverage.
Energy security is the theme of this year's conference, but the agenda is packed. Everything from public safety to artificial intelligence. It's also happening as the August 1st deadline for a new U.S. trade deal approaches. The U.S. ambassador to Canada says he's optimistic the two sides will strike a new deal.
When the president and your prime minister are done with this, they will have created, the framework will change, but the fundamental fabric that holds our countries together will continue to be there.
Premier Scott Moe says Saskatchewan is already following Harper's advice to diversify beyond the U.S., but he also believes Canada could increase trade with the U.S. by producing more of what Americans want.
Largely, we have been very focused on diversifying where our exports are going in the world over the last number of years. And I think moving forward, we need to, increasingly look at the fact that, yes, the U.S. is going to continue to be our largest trading partner, but we should not be dependent on it.
The conference runs here until Wednesday. Delegates say the mood is positive despite the trade tensions, and they hope that leads to a good trade deal for both sides. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And Prime Minister Mark Carney says talks between Canada and the United States on a trade deal are now at, quote, an intense phase. Carney said a deal without tariffs is unlikely.
We will only sign a deal that's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada. We're representing Canada, we're standing up for Canada. The United States and Canada can do many good things together. We have done that in the past, we can do more in the future, but on fair terms for our country.
U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 35% tariff on some Canadian imports if that August 1st deadline is not met. Carney said his negotiating team has been clear that supply management and language rights are fundamental to the structure of Canada. He expects a deal with the U.S. would be similar in some respects to the one the U.S. and the EU struck on the weekend. The EU accepted 15% tariff on most goods. The provincial NDP has written to the province's ombudsman calling for an investigation into the Saskatchewan Marshals Service. Last week, CBC News reported that an employee of the Marshals Service resigned after he was suspended over an unspecified complaint. The investigation into the employee's actions has been completed, but it will not be made public. That means the Marshals' identity, the nature of the complaint, or the result of the investigation will not be known. The official opposition says that is unacceptable.
We want to make sure that the people of Saskatchewan have a minister and a government that is being accountable, that is keeping public trust at its highest level in policing services that they've created here in Saskatchewan.
In a statement, Justice Minister Tim MacLeod slammed the NDP, saying the letter, quote, reveals a complete lack of understanding of how independent offices function. McLeod said it would be inappropriate for any elected member to interfere in the independent investigation process. Members of the Canadian Armed Forces have hit the ground running in Saskatchewan, helping battle out-of-control wildfires. It comes as 12 communities remain under an evacuation order and around 60 fires continue to burn in the province. But as Ashwarya Duda reports, there is some good news coming for one northern community.
Around 300 Canadian Armed Forces troops arrived in Saskatchewan over the weekend. They're currently working in Weyakowin, the Green Lake region, and north of La Ronge.
We're taking pressure off of a public safety agency that they can reorient and reprioritize where those Type 1 and Type 2s can go. Of course, I would say we are assisting in the overall effort in protecting those local communities that are being threatened by the fires.
Hudson says the Army was brought in to take on Type 3 firefighting duties, handling labor-intensive tasks like cleanups, digging ditches, and cleaning debris. That allows Type 1 and Type 2 firefighters to focus on more dangerous fire zones.
We're here until we're not needed anymore. I tell you that troops, again, are super eager, super energized to help when they can. They genuinely want to be here and help folks in need.
The request for federal help from the province was made last Wednesday, and within hours, a Canadian Armed Forces team arrived in Saskatchewan to lay the groundwork for a larger deployment. But in all of this, some good news. The village of Beauval is calling off its mandatory evacuation order on Wednesday.
It's been 30 days since that fire flared up, and it's been 26 days since the evacuation was made. We just had our councillor fly up in a helicopter, and he was reassuring that's under control.
The state of emergency is being extended, but those who want to stay out still can, like those with health conditions. La Liberty says while the Army wasn't needed in his community, firefighters from other places were helpful.
These are from Quebec, Ontario, Mexico, and the Australians are on time off right now. They did their 14-day excursion. I think they get 4 days off, and they'll be back here for another 14-day shift.
He says while much of the village is mostly safe now, his heart breaks for the wildlife affected by the fires.
Little bear cubs had climbed up into a tree, and it's just heartbreaking. Even just telling the story, it's just heartbreaking to hear the sounds, and it's their habitat, but that's also their safety is the top of these trees, and that's where they were. They were caught in the fire.
Ashwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
BC winemakers say they are losing business in Alberta. That's because Alberta now takes a bigger cut of every bottle sold there. The province raised the markup for all wines in March, saying it levels the playing field for those selling beer and spirits. But as Kyle Bax shows us, that's no comfort for wineries one province over.
One by one, a batch of sparkling rosé is bottled by hand at the Lightning Rock Winery. If these bottles end up being sold in Alberta, their price tag will be noticeably higher. That's because of new fees introduced by the Alberta government this year.
On a $30 bottle of wine, it works out to approximately between 28 and 32%.
The fees come at a time when governments are looking to reduce trade barriers between provinces. Alberta often boasts about leading the way on improving trade.
This new way of working together across provincial borders will benefit the people of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, and ultimately all people across Canada.
They're saying one thing's nationally, but then they're penalizing us on the other side.
It's been 3 months since Alberta's fees were added, and now wineries are really starting to feel the pinch.
Our online sales dropped almost 30-40%. Kind of slap on the face, to be honest with you, for a lot of BC wineries.
Here's how it works. Beginning in April, Alberta increased its flat fee on wine, plus added an extra charge that goes up, depending on the price of the bottle, up to 15%.
Beautiful bottle of BC Rosé for us.
A year ago, the premiers of both provinces announced a new program for BC wineries to ship directly to drinkers in Alberta. Wineries were delighted, but the new fees have washed away the excitement.
It's frustrating, to be honest with you. We had a deal in place, and then it really feels to us like Alberta has just screwed this up.
The Minister for Service Alberta says Alberta believes in free and open trade, and it's open to finding opportunities to improve it. The agreement with BC is reducing red tape, making it easier for Albertans to buy BC wine, but still ensuring wineries pay the fees Alberta collects on liquor sales. Some wineries are calling for Alberta's premier to take action and eliminate the fees.
She's championing free trade. At the same time, she's championing a tax that we never had before.
Some wineries say Alberta's fees are so high that it's now cheaper for them to sell into the U.S. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Penticton.
Well, of course, you heard about the wildfires burning in the province, and of course, the wildfire smoke is being an issue as well. It has moved back into Regina after a few days of some clearer skies, but the smoke not stopping some people from getting some physical activity, as you saw there. We are in for a few days, a few nice days here, but that smoke, of course, is expected to stick around, unfortunately. Weather specialist Helena Mahalik will tell us why in her full forecast after the break. In the heart of Saskatoon, a house destined for demolition has been taken over by artists. The creative deconstruction project named Cannibal Lot is the brainchild of a Toronto architect and their partner. And as Nicole Laverne-Smith reports, it has become a playground where artists can defy the norms of a traditional gallery and redefine what gives a place its true value.
This house in the heart of Saskatoon is at a crossroads. Usually when a house like this is purchased, it would be demolished and rebuilt in the blink of an eye. But its owners have a different approach. Toronto architect Carl Martin is originally from Saskatoon. Martin and their partner Coyote decided to turn the house into an artistic laboratory.
I have done a lot of projects around the idea of creative destruction, and so I had this idea that we could turn it into a project.
The idea is to memorialize it and help determine what they should eventually build. They sent out a call to artists to use their creative energy to help question and reframe the value of one of the oldest houses in the neighborhood.
We want to highlight the fact that it still has value, even though it might not have market value, because we bought the house for lot values.
Laura Saint-Pierre is one of the artists that responded to the call.
I have an imaginary character named the Sower who lives in the future, in a post-apocalyptic future, and she tends gardens in a post-apocalyptic future where there's not really any other life aside from her and the gardens that she plants. So in this house I have planted peas in the walls, strawberries in the basement, and just little, there's a tree growing in the shower. There's little plants growing everywhere, and then I use that as a stage, essentially, to take photos and videos of the Sower doing what she does.
Saint-Pierre says she's appreciated working alongside the other artists in the house and having the freedom to do what she likes.
I exhibit my work in galleries on a pretty regular basis, but this space has offered a lot more freedom than a regular gallery because you can't usually just take a chunk out of a wall of a gallery and plant peas in the wall. That's not really what galleries are about. So I think myself and all the other artists found a lot more freedom in this kind of context than we normally do.
The project has taken on a life of its own.
And then kind of as that gradualness changed and morphed with the artists' interventions and became the project that it is today, which I don't think we could have necessarily seen from the beginning.
They say they uncovered so much of the house's history, including that John Diefenbaker may have lived in it for a short time when he was young.
There's so many secrets, there's so many special moments, and you don't see them if you just bring in a machine and knock it over.
One project that people have really liked is Carrie Shaw's project, where Carrie did research on the house and sort of focused on the Cowell family who moved into the house in the late 40s. It was a retired farming couple, Jack and Jeannie Cowell. So she made 3 dioramas, exact replicas of 3 rooms of the house, and each room was modeled after the life of one of the women in the family.
The house is now entering a new phase where it will be slowly deconstructed.
We're going to turn the house more into a workshop or materials lab where we really start taking apart materials more actively.
The art created will be the foundation for the new home that will take shape.
I think every artist has added something really rich to the project that will make its way into the design.
A year from now, they hope to break ground. Martin and Coyote say that they hope to spend more time in Saskatoon working on projects and enjoying the new community they have built. Nicole Lavang-Smith, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joins us now. And after a few interesting days, Helena, seems like the weather has sort of maybe made up its mind a little bit here.
A little bit here, a little bit maybe not there. We have seen the sun finally come out in the province. However, temperatures still a little bit cooler and some rainfall Monday night. Let's take a look at where that is. Monday night, we are seeing a non-severe thunderstorm beginning in the southwest for areas around Swift Current. And in the overnight period, that storm is going to track its way into the southeast, landing around the Estevan area. And we know some rainfall is definitely needed in that area. It's one of many regions under an air quality warning. Many areas of the province, starting in the south, like Assiniboia, moving all the way up along the Manitoba border, areas in central Saskatchewan, like Melfort, up into Buffalo Narrows in the north, all under these air quality warnings. And this has also caused the air quality health index to be quite poor for some areas. Obviously in the north, where those fires are, above a level 10 for Buffalo Narrows. But Monday night, places in the southeast like Estevan also exceeding a level 10. Same thing with Regina. Definitely not recommended to be outside during that time. Central areas not quite as bad, but hovering at about a level 4 or 5 for areas like Saskatoon and Prince Albert. Over the coming days, we will see some relief, especially to the southeast, but we're still going to continue to see some smoke plumes coming down into the Prince Albert or Yorkton regions by Wednesday afternoon. We will get some rainfall, though, which should help with things. That storm is going to pass through to the Estevan area, so waking up Tuesday, that area is going to have some rainfall, which could hopefully provide some relief. Into Wednesday, we're seeing mainly clear skies, maybe some scattered showers in central areas like Saskatoon and Prince Albert. And then as we look ahead to Thursday, it's going to be a mainly clear day in the province. We're not even seeing much cloud coverage. And temperature-wise, we're starting the week off quite cool. Temperatures hovering just around the 20-degree mark. And as we get into Tuesday, things are going to remain quite cool. Nowhere is really getting hotter than 23 degrees. As we get into Wednesday, we're going to see things returning back to seasonal. Temperatures hovering around 25 or 26 degrees. We're going to have to wait all the way until Thursday to finally feel some heat in the province. Temperatures finally getting above seasonal Thursday in the high 20s, with temperatures hovering just below that 30-degree mark. So Ethan, we're going to have a few days of 20-degree weather, some days of 30 degrees, always a little bit of back and forth in the province.
And I'm watching that rain across the screen there and hoping it can just go a little bit further north, but doesn't really look like it.
Yeah, we're just hoping for a little bit more rain as well, but not looking too promising in that front.
Okay, Helena, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, you may not notice them fluttering around, but you might not know that just how important butterflies are. Well, one festival in Manitoba is helping to change that. The annual Monarch Butterfly Festival took place this past weekend in Winnipeg. The free event featured live butterfly displays, guided walks, crafts, and educational booths. Monarch numbers have been declining, with climate change and extreme weather being partially blamed.
Monarch butterflies have been declining in a really noticeable way for the last 20 to 25 years, and they've recently been listed as endangered in Canada. There's a few main reasons. One is habitat loss, so they're losing the places where they get the milkweed and the flowers that grow that keep them alive, as well as habitat loss in Mexico where they spend the winter.
People were also given milkweed plants to help support monarch habitats in their own backyards.
And Summer McIntosh is going to win it, and win it very, very well. It's Walsh in second place. McIntosh takes another gold medal for Canada.
Canadian swimming superstar Summer McIntosh has won her second gold medal at the World Championships in Singapore. She was the first to touch the wall in the 200-meter individual medley. The 18-year-old from Toronto came just shy of the world record she set last month in Victoria, BC. She also clinched her first gold of the tournament in the 400-meter freestyle on Sunday. McIntosh hopes to become the second swimmer in history to win 5 solo titles at a single long course World Championships. Stay with us. We'll tell you about some Saskatchewan athletes hoping to bring home some hardware after the break. Welcome back. The best young athletes in Saskatchewan are getting ready to represent the province in the 2025 Canada Summer Games. Athletes gathered in Regina Monday in preparation for their departure to St. John's to compete with athletes from across Canada in 19 different sports. Over 350 athletes from nearly 100 communities will represent the province. Team Saskatchewan is aiming to improve on its previous medal count of 32 at the 2022 Games. The team's opening ceremony's flag bearer is 16-year-old Hayden Cott, a dual athlete representing the province in both volleyball and basketball.
I love them both. I've played both of them for Team Sask in the past couple of years, and I just love them. They're two totally different sports, and they have totally different dynamics, which I also love.
Sport does wonderful things. It brings together community. It's not only good for us, for our physical health, our mental health, but it really brings us together.
Canada Summer Games organizers expect more than 4,000 athletes, coaches, and managers from across the country in St. John's. The games run from August 8th to the 25th. And Helena, I think many people are wondering if our forecast is going to come in at a gold, silver, or bronze medal level. What can you tell us?
Well, maybe give it 2 days and it'll be a gold star. Temperatures are going to heat up in the province. Let's take a look at the forecast for the city of Regina. Tuesday, a little bit of a rainy start. That storm in the Estevan area might be hitting Regina, and temperatures just a few degrees below seasonal. But we're back to seasonal Wednesday, and by Thursday, temperatures are closer to that 30-degree mark, and overnight lows will be closer to 20 degrees. There will be some rainfall over the weekend, though, that'll drop temperatures back to seasonal, and that rainfall is going to take us into next work week. In Saskatoon, a sunny week despite some rainfall. Tuesday, again, temperatures hovering a few degrees below seasonal. By Wednesday, we're back to seasonal. And Thursday, we're going to see temperatures closer to that 30-degree mark. And we're going to see some rainfall beginning Friday. Temperatures still staying quite warm, but by the weekend, that rainfall is going to continue, and temperatures will continue to drop down into next week and continue to feel a little bit cooler. So, Ethan, you might want to get out during the week because next weekend's going to be a bit rainy.
Okay, well, the forecast, maybe not gold medal, but I'll give you a gold star for your forecast there. Thanks, Helena.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is our news for this Monday. And for the latest news, you can always head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.